All right, we are back recording in progress with Mallorie Ortega, director, producer, filmmaker. Mallorie, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's an honor and a pleasure to have you. We are going to be talking about Mango Sticky Rice. Prior to that, would you like to introduce the movie or yourself in any way?
Yeah, Mango Sticky Rice is a short film musical, and actually, this was my thesis film when I was at USC. So it was made with a great team of my best friends and film students, and so proud of what we did with the limited resources and time we had.
That's awesome. Yes, it is a short film musical comedy and very much about dating and young adulthood coming together and the pressures of parents or just social society in terms of partnering up, having children, moving on to that phase of your life. The character is, kind of in the throes of that. She tries the dating thing and that doesn't really pan out. And yet there's love literally knocking on her door, which she misses it until it kind of meets again after she goes through this whole kind of process of maybe trying to force it a little bit. So that said, that set up, the first question is, where in your life did Mango Sticky Rice come from?
Actually, my friend wrote it,
Yeah.
so she at USC there's this kind of like a capstone class where writers submit for a funded project from the school and directors submit to be in consideration to direct, and same with producers. And so it actually came to me just because I was selected to be one of the directors and I was looking for something really fun and light. And I wasn't really seeing anything that I liked from the writing pool except for this one script where at the time I was single, and this is when like um what is it, date, like internet dating and apps were huge. Like it was, I feel like it had just really gotten like taken over in our culture, and I just thought it was funny. And um at the time also it wasn't a musical, it was just a comedy, rom comedy. And I was like, and since my friend wrote it, I was like, hey, what do you think about turning this into a musical? And she's like, hell yeah, let's do it. So
Okay.
yeah, it was just like, she had never thought about it being a musical, but I have a musical background, and I just thought it would be so much more elevated and just a fun project to work on and like close out our years at USC.
Well, it definitely looks like a fun project. I can totally understand like, hey, you were, dating at the time you were single, so you had like familiarity with it. I guess, to really kind of hit into the meat of the question, which is locked into the limitations of the words. So I'm going to try to get out of the word box, but like even if, I know, I understand you didn't write it, your friend wrote it, and but you really like gravitated, you were inspired by this project. So I guess what is that like little, kind of substance that inspired you? And you're like, okay, yeah, this is, I mean, like a topic that I want to, you know, um, put my creativity into.
Well, it was one of the scripts that was specifically said that these two characters were Asian American. That was really important to me.
Cool.
There were a lot of like, there was a lot of hinting in Asian culture. Like it wasn't like this person is heavily Korean, and so we're gonna have like Korean language and this other language. And, it was just like these are just two Asian people who are trying to find love. And for me, it was
Mm,
like at the time you didn't really see that. You didn't see a lot of romantic
mm,
stories
mm,
with Asian leads, and
mm.
that's what that's what pulled me in as well. It was like, if we're gonna change, what we see, then I might as well be the change. And Um, I remember like after the screening, like a couple people coming up and be like, "Oh my God, like it's so awesome that two beautiful Asian people are the leads in this romantic comedy, and neither one of them are like the supporting character, you know?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's awesome." So, it's really more of like the representation part more so than like the dating part. It was just like,
Yeah.
ugh, let's have these two like Asian characters be the romantic leads. Yes.
It's like I don't want to take for granted like what that means because, I think a lot of people, when we hear or see, somebody saying that, this diversity was really important to me and to portray that diversity in modern America is important, I want to really kind of hone in on why that is and how it relates to people who see it, who are Asian, who aren't Asian, and how does that open up our paradigm of America?
Well, at the time, let's see, that was 2013. That was that was 10 years ago. Oh my God. Oh my God, it was 10 years ago. Uh,
I know how you feel, trust me. We don't.
um, so at that time, I want to say Crazy Rich Asians wasn't even, announced as, you know, an adaptation. Um, and so if you think about it, it was really like it was in the time of like starting of the movement of Asian representation. And I didn't really, to be honest, I really didn't understand the impact. All I knew was like, deep inside me, I was like, this has been my mission, especially attending, USC where, you know, they they are doing what they can do to make a more diverse environment. And but sometimes it's hit and miss, and we can see that in all of the awards that are even till this year. People are getting shut out, snubbed, and I still felt like within my like education, it still did feel like I was not being taken seriously with specific characters I was writing or
Hmm.
stories I was pitching. And it was really just about like the understanding of like just because you don't understand that these characters are doing these things doesn't mean that it isn't real. And I felt that a lot while I was writing at USC. It was like that would never happen. I was like, well, this is like word for word within my family, so it does happen.
Hmm.
And so I guess like in the grand scheme of things, it's like to have an opportunity to show different types of characters and different complexities within family and situations. I had to take advantage of that opportunity.
It's awesome.
It's yeah, like I know everyone at USC, like they want to be, not everyone, but the odds of people wanting to be the next greatest director is very high. Like that want when you go into film
Oh,
school,
right. Yeah, sure.
especially at USC,
Yeah, of course. It's
and
yeah,
also the pressure. They're like, oh, you're going to USC, so you must be like the next greatest filmmaker.
right.
And I think that that type of pressure on yourself while you're going through your education, you know, you're I feel like I see a lot of movies where that's what they're trying to be, is like the next great director instead of what is the next great thing for like the community and for the art world and like what needs to actually be said.
Right.
So for me, it was like mango sticky rice was that opportunity for me.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Um, I think everybody, um, you don't get out alive in this world, and everybody in some way or other, at one point in their life is going to feel marginalized, isolated, like the other. And the more stories there are to let everybody know that, hey, whatever that is, that's okay. And there are all these kinds of different um, you know, faces or origins or this or that, but at heart we all have that same common kind of human heart and human makeup. And I think that just reinforcing and that theme is so important because everybody needs it. Um, the second question of Play It Forward is the takeaway. The takeaway in terms of the narrative arc of the film and what is it that these characters learn? They do come together through this kind of, um, and one of the refrains in it is I wrote it down line for line. If you can be real with me, I'll be real with you, right? And I think that's so like that's kind of like forget romantic love. I mean, that's just like the world. Like I go into my doctor's office and I crave that, this new I want it just help like be, I don't want to see the hey, how you doing today? Just So it's so applicable widely in all our lives. How do we get there with ourselves and others?
That's such a great question. It's tough, I think that the only way to be um, real with one another is to learn how to listen and understand. I'm not even gonna say honesty, it's just more of candidness. Like, this is just how I see it, and I'm putting it out there on the table so that I can understand what you're thinking and so that you can understand what I'm thinking. Like, really just like, here's the nugget. Can we just like discuss this? And it's really hard. It's really hard to get that because not a lot of people practice that, and because of that, not a lot of people understand how to um, handle it when it comes their way. And even when someone says like, to be candid, like, you're
Right.
kind of messing up.
Prefacing.
To be candid,
Right.
like, I am a mess right now, so please don't, disregard what I'm about to do. Um, they, I feel like some people take that as um, like they get defensive when someone's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, and then like it's like defensive mode. So I mean, it's a great question. I don't know the answer. I think it's just more like people need to like just be like aware that yeah, everyone has stuff going on. So just like you can even preface like, I got a lot of shit going on. So pardon my like aggressiveness, but what you just said, blah, blah, blah. And I think that even if you state your like sense of self at the beginning in a reaction and your reaction isn't like the friendliest, then at least the other person's like, okay, maybe I can decipher what's actually going on underneath all of that anger. And it's not really having anything to do with them. It's just like, this is where they are in their lives. It's like, I don't know how else to
I love
really
it.
get there.
I love it. I mean, you got there. I mean, it's so because it's so in the context of the film too. I mean,
Yeah,
the answer is so powerful. And the first thing you said is to listen. I mean, that is huge. It
yeah.
is everything. It is absolutely everything. And
Mm.
it's a starting point, listening to ourselves and listening to the others. And, that's in terms of the context of the, mango sticky rice, it's like she isn't listening to this
Yeah,
dude. I mean, he's clearly in love
yeah,
with her. He's clearly infatuated. He's like right there knocking on her door. She just can't, she's not hearing it.
yeah,
She's not there. She's busy tuning out her mom or busy desiring. She's busy in that, like, from a yogic Buddhist perspective, pushing and pulling desires rather
yeah,
than just being present right here. It's in front of you, you
yeah,
know? So it's
yeah,
so germane to everything else. And then on top of that, the value added, what you're saying in terms of when we are communicating with other people, if we could just be frank and be like, look, I'm not at the best right now, but here's a nugget, piece of external information. I recognize that this external, I can only see it from this side. What does it look like over there? You
yeah,
know? And
yeah,
it's like, we're not committed to our perspectives. We're open to, hearing, listening.
yeah, yeah.
So it's very cool, very rich. Do you have another thought?
No, I'm just like thinking about this film. Like, I was like, yeah, I remember. I actually remember when we were making it. Like, I want to say like one of the professors was like, it's funny you wrote that lyric. If you could be real with me, I'll be real with you. But she's going on these dates and she's dressing up, and she's not even being real with herself. And I was like, yes, we planned that.
Right. Yeah,
We
exactly.
planned that exactly.
Well, that's the beauty of it, man. That's why I love doing the show, and is because filmmakers, myself included, you write, you direct, you whatever, you put your creative thing into it, and it's happening without even you knowing it necessarily. And then
Hmm.
you reflect and you analyze it, and it's there. That it's there. There are more nuances, there are more layers there. Whatever we produce, there is more there. And if we reflect on it, we'll see more. The more we look at it, the more we listen to it. So
Yeah.
maybe you planned it.
Yes, we did.
Right, right. That's awesome. The last question is, how have you been personally changed since making mango sticky rice?
Oh man, there are so many lessons. let me remember one of them. Uh,
I've forgotten them all. Right.
I didn't learn anything. No, no, no. There was so much. I mean, it was a unique environment in which it was like the school really wanted to feel like a studio thing where like you would get approval from like every single step of the way. We had like a professor for each department. I had like two department heads per department, and that was it was difficult. It was a challenge. It was like two DPs, two like sound supervisors, two editors, two producers, to everything. And so that was a challenge in itself that like, you're working with a lot of different personalities, um, and trying and like you have a similar goal. And I think that was the first time really having a big crew like that, short films. It's either you and like maybe one other person or two people, and the actors. This was the first time I had like a full crew. And so as a director, I think my biggest takeaway was for myself, like learning how to be more fluid.
Yeah.
And I think when I stepped into this role, I knew I needed to be flexible, but I didn't realize just how flexible I needed to be. And so that was a good challenge, and really learning like which battles to fight
Yeah.
and how to um, yeah, and like how to really, that was like the first time as well, like learning to collaborate at a very highly artistic level with each department head. And it wasn't just like, okay, I want this, and they're like, cool, awesome, you're the director, I'll listen to you. It was like, no, this was a very artistically developed um film that we all had to kind of, you know make compromises and inspire one another. And I'm glad that like it was under, you know a school setting, because I think when you are at school you allow yourself to like make a little more mistakes. um Stress is and the pressure is on, but I think at the end of the day it's like, cool, we like did this thing for school, and like we're only going to be better after that. So I think my biggest takeaway was learning how to collaborate with such like incredibly talented filmmakers, and what that actually means when you come down to like the final cut, the final day, and making sure you have something you're proud of.
Super important. Mallorie Ortega, filmmaker, producer, director. Mango Sticky Rice is the film that we just talked about. We're looking forward to more of your stuff. Mallorie, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
You got it. All right, everybody on Play Forward, we're out. Peace.